Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Hi, Neal.
Hi. Hi.
Hi,
Thanks
Neal.
for being here. Hello. Hey, Nora. All right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. We we'll give it a minute or so for people to fold in. This is already a good crowd. And we had such a good conversation yesterday. And you know, I thought through things a little bit. I'm going to make a couple tweaks. Really look forward to doing this with you. Leif, you're going to give me a 10-minute warning. Make sure I stay on track. Thank you. Okay, and we've got Taylor and Leif. Taylor's our field manager. Leif is our organizing manager. I'm Neal. I'm head of organizing. I'm going to do this workshop with you. Here's what I want to do though off the top. This is an audible. We just heard a lot of heavy information. You know, it falls pretty hard, right? Who's feeling a little bit hammered by what you heard? Yeah. So sobering, frightening, tough. Okay. Take all of that and listen to what I want to tell you, and I want us to shake all that off. Here's what I want to tell you. We as organizers need to focus on what we can control. There are things that we can't control. What we can control is where we spend our energy and our time. And I want all of you to spend your energy and your time with your friends and family and your loved ones and enjoy your life. And then carve out the couple hours that you've got each week to help organize and volunteer. The situation is, I would like to encourage people to pay less attention to Twitter and political podcasts. And do you need to watch Rachel Maddow every night? Maybe. Maybe it's good for you. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe doing that right before bed is actually not good for you. Just think about it. Think about it. This is tough stuff. But we as organizers, what do we do? What do we do? Well, we focus on what we can control. And I really want to encourage everyone. Shake all that stuff off. Yeah, it's dark. We're up against tough stuff, but that's always been the case. It's always been the case. So shake it off. Let's focus on what we can control, and let's focus on the good stuff that we can do together. So that's the focus of this workshop. We're going to have a discussion, and you know, it's a little bit tough to do over Zoom, but here's how it's going to work. If you want to speak, you know, mute and unmute, raise your hand. I'll call on you, or use the little hand raise icon right in Zoom. Great. And then step up, step back. So if you're someone who likes to share a lot, share, and then maybe make some space. And if you're someone who generally likes to hang back, you know, none of us are experts here. We're all learning together. It's just a discussion. Please feel free to join in. Okay. All right. So the situation for us as organizers this year is, well, we have the same goal in the electoral world. We want to maximize fundraising and voter contact support for our priority candidates. To do that, we have to scale, you know, more people doing the thing. We also need to gain efficiency. So the same amount of people doing the thing, but doing it better and doing more of it, right? The poetry in organizing, the beauty of all of this is that scale means building community and friendships and connecting, right? And you can't win unless you do that. And the work that we do to help electoral field programs, we're at the margins. So someone in a close race, we can and sometimes do make the difference. But what's the problem? The perennial problem for us is that people have choices. Are they going to donate and where? Are they going to volunteer and how? For whom? In what way? Right? So what I want to do today is give us one case, because we don't have a ton of time. I want to give us one case, and let's walk through it together. And the focus of this is about recruitment, and messaging in recruitment is very important, right? So we're going to talk about the language we use, but I want everyone to think about messaging, this thing with me, as a thing that's in quotes. In the final 10 minutes, I'm going to share a document, a big document I put together that has a lot chock full of messaging. The metaphor or the analogy I want to use is arrows in the quiver. I'll keep coming back to that. But as organizers, messages or approaches in recruiting conversations, just a number of arrows in the quiver. And we'll get to that more. So, all right, here's the case. Everyone ready? Does it sound good? Okay. All right. Sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Here's the case. You and your fellow leaders have put together a contest among you. Loser buys the beer or something like that. You each have committed to each other. You're going to get 2 people to attend your first phone bank in 2 weeks. You got a weekly phone bank running for Arizona. Again, loser buys the beer or something like that. This is, and by the way, this is a very good tactic I want to encourage everyone to take on for recruitment. And we'll talk at the end why. So that's our mission here. So you got 2 weeks, you got a phone bank for Arizona, and you got to get 2 people there. So my first question, and please put in the chat your answer, and Taylor's going to take notes and throw the responses into the workshop doc that we've got. First question is, who do you target? Drop it in the chat. You need to get 2 people there. Who do you target? Friends. People who previously came to postcard events. Yep. Yep. Sandy is being specific, which is great. My mom and sister. Yep. Jeremy says people who volunteered before, right? We're all kind of circling around friends, people who have been prior volunteers. Rochelle, yep. Pete, yeah, hi. People who've not participated for a while. Very good. I think that we've got, I think the most common response here is friends, some version of friends, not the show. Okay. All right. So let's say we're going to focus on friends again, just for this case. And, again, we could go any direction with recruiting, but this is the case. All right. Next question is, what's the vehicle you use to recruit them? What mode? How do you contact them? In what way do you make the invitation? Now, what do you say? Phone call and email. Personalized email, okay. Cupcakes. You write out your phone bank invitation on the top of a cupcake. Send it over. I love it. Text. Email if no response. Phone call. Beppy, yeah, hi. Direct contact, driver to the house. Set a bonfire, Pete. Yeah, okay. All right. We're getting most. Yes, all of these things, text someone to set up a phone call, send an email, and then follow up with a phone call. we're all revolving around the same thing, which is we want to talk to someone. You want to actually have a dialogue, right? Okay. All right. So let's say our case is you're recruiting a friend to phone bank in 2 weeks. By speaking with them, I want to hear from someone and how you go about making that invitation when you're in a conversation with them. But before we do, a few points of departure. So number one, and these things are obvious to us. We know this stuff instinctually, but I think it's a good idea to throw it out there. Number one, the reasons we do this stuff are multidimensional. We often ask in 2 dimensions. So will you phone bank with me on Sunday is 2-dimensional, right? Hey, we've been looking to spend some time together. I've got a great idea. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, save democracy and hang out together. Will you? That's multidimensional, right? Okay. Second point of departure, intrinsic motivation. So that's what we're seeking to connect with when we make a successful invitation with someone. Intrinsic motivation, of course, is what's in their heart. What's really most important. Here's a hint. The tactic of phone banking is likely not the most important thing for the person you're targeting. Okay. Third point of departure, it's a dance. It's always a dance. An invitation is a dance. You go in, you're leading your partner, right? You take a first step, you learn something, you got to pivot. You got to go to the next step. You stick with them. It's a dance. All right. And then finally, I mentioned arrows in the quiver, another point of departure. What we want to do is show up to these conversations with arrows in the quiver. So based on my connection to the person I'm going to go recruit, based on my experience doing the thing I'm going to invite them to do, based on why I think it's a good thing to do, based on what I know about why Arizona is so important, why state leg is so important. Anyway, you got all these arrows, right? And you grab one and you're like, bing. And then you learn something and then you're like, okay, well, I got to grab another one. All right. Having said all that, those are just some points of departure. Who wants to kick us off? Take 60 to 90 seconds. Tell us what your approach is. Think of an actual friend, and then we're going to kind of go from there in conversation. Who do we got? Don't be shy. Bonnie Henderson. Go ahead.
Okay, I've got a friend. I'm thinking he's been like, I'll postcard with you and he'll show up for postcarding. Cool. But he's like, I don't really phone banking, and I think I need to, for one thing, I want to hit him up for money because I know that his wife is rich. And also he's a former newspaper reporter. Fuck that shit that he doesn't want to talk to anybody. That is really ridiculous. So, and I like him, and we're both going to do big long hikes this summer. So I think I'm going to call him up. Let's get together. Let's talk about our hikes. And I want to talk to you about sister districts. So be upfront, but just say, you got to just come. I love your idea of coming to the party, that this is not like you go phone bank and it's a really boring and terrible thing to do, but you'll feel better about it. But like, we have a party. I'm there. You come, try it once. Lower your expectation. That's the key, is like, don't expect to talk to 50 people and convince them to vote, but here's what you can expect. It's fun. I'm going to do it.
Okay. So, all right. So Bonnie, that sounds good. And there are a couple of things in there. You're going to try and be clear and open the hood for him. What actually is this tactic? And look, I might recommend for most of us, ditch the jargon. Don't even say phone bank. What happens with some people who have been poorly trained in the past, or they just have some kind of assumption about what this thing is. They hear that word and then it's like fight or flight, sort of triggering, and immediately they think, oh my God, I don't want to go argue with people. Are you kidding me? Right? So what do? Well, we say, hey, I need you to talk with the voters our campaign thinks are in the ballpark of voting with them. And we need to learn some information about these voters to help the campaign take next steps. Join us, try it. Bonnie also gave him an out. I've told people this before. It's pretty easy to leave a Zoom call. Come to the virtual phone bank, stick through the training, see what you think. Hit that red button. All right, who's next? Who wants to extend this? What else would you do? I see Beppy. Yeah, you want to jump in?
Okay, I was just going to say it be, whoops, kind of a different approach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, good. I have a friend who's been interested in Sister District in the past, and we actually put on a fundraiser together a few years ago, but recently she hasn't responded very much when I've sent her opportunities. So what I would probably do is, at a time when we are together, and we're together pretty regularly, I would say, I went to this Sister District Summit, and it really made me think, like, this is a place I can really make a difference. We know there's so much wrong. This is what, I just want to tell you how I feel about this. We're talking about talking to voters. I think that's really good at voting for about phone banking. That's a real point for me to remember. But this is why I think it's important, in that talk about cleaning up the phone list, because that helps you understand why all those blank calls can be valuable, and you shouldn't look at them as just a waste of time. So that's another good thing I learned today. And then, and when you talk to voters, sometimes you can really make a difference. I've felt like I have. And, there's an opportunity to do that next Saturday. I'm going to do it. Why don't you do it too? And we'll both be on it together. Something like that.
That would get me. I'd be with you. I like it. Who else has wants to extend this a little bit? Jean, I see your hand. Yeah.
So I love what Beppy just said, and I have a friend. She's very active in many things. I've asked her in the past to join us on phone banking, and she understands what that is, but she's never really responded. She does a lot of other things. She's involved in different groups, but she's very outgoing and very friendly, and just, I think she would be a great asset. But I do go walking with her once in a while, so we just started doing that again. So I agree that this connecting with voters, which I think makes a lot of sense. But for me, my story is a little bit. I was very fearful, and Neal, this, because I didn't want to do this. And there was a change that happened to me, and it's an internal change, and it's also because of what we're experiencing in the country. Mm-hmm. And so I've been radicalized, on the good side, not on the other side. I can see how that can happen because it's happened to me. And it's like this internal understanding. And I've had connections with voters who are feeling the way I'm feeling, and your endorphins go up, your adrenaline goes up. You're like, oh my God, I actually did make a difference. Yeah. There are people out there that aren't hearing some of these feeling, positive things that we're feeling. It's about saving democracy. And, and because I feel that we're at this brink, and I feel it so deeply, that I would almost go to Ukraine. I mean, not really, but it's like things have just gotten so out of hand that I feel like this is it. And it's a community, that's supportive, and it's friendly, and you guys are all amazing. So I like Beppy said, we can actually make a difference. I think being at this summit, which is the first time, has just heightened everything. So thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jean. So a number of things in there. So Jean was talking about her own experience. So we could get into Marshall Gann's story of self, us, and now kind of stuff. Those of you Obama people, who did all of that work. But Jean was just talking about connecting with a friend and saying, look, this really changed me, and it's helped me. I actually feel a little bit better about this thing. Maybe you could use that too. right? Sandy, what do you think?
I was also going to say something along the lines of what Jean said about, I try to emphasize that it actually makes me feel better,
Yes.
which is not what is intuitive, that I actually feel better. Sometimes I talk about dialing as sort of meditative. It's like you clock up the dials and you think of your goals in terms of dials rather than like changing a Republican into a Democrat or something like that. And that when I'm feeling out of control from the news, that just knowing that I did 50 dials actually helps calm me. It's and the other thing I do is that when I am phone banking and I have a good call, I describe it on social media. And so I'm not
Yes.
directly asking anybody at that moment, but hopefully I'm slowly but surely changing their perception. And so when I do reach out to talk to them, like there's a context for it.
Right.
And finally, telling people that they can, like we do a training at the beginning of our phone banks. And so you can just come here at the training and then you can decide if you want to do it today, if you want to come back some other day, but then they have to listen to all the other stuff that I don't have time to tell them. So.
Yeah, Sandy, that's great. And look, one thing I want to throw in here is that, you know, this personal check-in that you're going to do with someone starts with a personal check-in. Hey, how are you? How are you feeling about this stuff? Yeah, me too. This is scary. This is tough. I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's going to help you the way it's helped me, but you know, I kind of like the every Saturday 10 a.m. I know I'm going to engage in our top tactic for remote volunteering to make an impact on these elections. I'm going to spend my 2 hours, fight the good fight. And then, you know, when I get knocked around by the news, it doesn't knock me around so much. You know, I know it's kind of like going to church or something. I know I get knocked around by the news, but I know come Saturday, I'm going to my phone bank, I'm putting in a couple hours. So yes, it makes me feel a little bit better to be doing this. Might help you too. Also, there's decision paralysis. Anyone know about this in your personal life? Everything's so messed up. Where do I possibly volunteer, right? And some people get so stuck in decision paralysis, they don't actually just choose a thing and jump in. And this is a way that I think we can help friends in our lives, people we care about, feel a little less anxious about what's going on, a little bit less depressed, take a little bit less of that decision anxiety out of the mix. So when you're going to that friend to invite them to the phone bank in 2 weeks, part of the approach could be, hey, you know what? I know you have so many decisions out there around what you do. Trust me, this is a really good option. I can tell you more, but you know, it feels really good to just do this thing every week, right? Okay, cool. Who else do we got? Vera, go ahead.
So I love hearing everyone's experiences, and I just wanted to share kind of, you know, quickly, like two specific friends I have. One who's been engaged, has a very busy life, has been engaged and been political in many ways, including phone banking. So for her, I think I would just say, you know, the personal check-in, remember where we were, you know, in the last midterms and how we got involved, and just remind her, which is what she reminded me, that you can just do a little bit. You can just say, I'm doing an hour. You actually don't have to commit to the whole phone bank of its terrors. You don't have to commit to every week. I think just the recognition that this is flexible, this is voluntary. People have demands and crises and needs in their lives. And so that's one friend. And I'm just going to reiterate to her what she said to me a couple years ago. And then a friend, I think, who's never done it, I would have a different kind of conversation, trying to let her know how I've experienced the phone banking and how it might pull to some of her strengths and help her feel, you know, from how she lives in the world and what she's done. It might just feel like an expansion of something for her. And we have a very wonderful local sister district group, a very supportive community. So I can vouch for that all, and it's real. So.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. So again, it's customized. The invitation you make, it's clear, like our asks are always clear. What is this thing exactly that I'm asking you to do? And it's compelling. hey, this is a good group of people. It feels really good for me to be doing this, right? Awesome. And it looks like Sam, do you want to add something to this, Sam?
Well, there is a little bit to add to. For one thing, I'm rather reclusive. I have few friends. I do a tremendous amount of phone banking for that reason.
Mhm.
If I speak to the few friends I've had, they say, I don't want to speak about politics. I'm afraid of it. When I do discuss politics, there was only one friend who told me that she was working on Pennsylvania with Daily Coast. That's about as far as I went. His second cousin, my closest relative, and one of my 64 second cousins. I do a lot of genealogy too in the past.
Uh-huh.
And she has given up on, she did a lot last year, and she says, I will not do any more ever again. I can't convince her.
Yeah.
What I think we have to do is go into the neighborhood councils of each big city, speak with every president of every neighborhood council, tell them about the fate of our democracy, how that could affect the local neighborhood. And in addition, the erasure of ports and piers and everything by the ocean, by the 2-foot sea rise within the next decade.
Yeah.
Because the underwater mountain in Antarctica so far,
Okay.
it will give way. And so we have to first start with the neighborhood councils and tell them the greatest priorities are the survival of democracy and the survival of the
Great.
city.
Sam, thank you. Okay, so some ideas there, and then I want to get more voices in here before we have to shift. Maureen, go ahead. And Maureen, I saw your direct message. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Go ahead. How do you get that friend to the phone bank in 2 weeks? What's the kind of conversation you have?
I'm finding it kind of uncomfortable to be in this phase where during COVID, it was easy to say no to a lot of invitations to socialize. And I could just, focus on what I had to do. Now I'm getting inundated with people who want to get together, and my plate is full, and I'm either going to socialize or I'm going to be politically involved. So my pivot would be, and it just came to me, and this is just, hey, if you want to, I'm not going to say it this way, but basically, if you want to spend time with me, this is what I'm doing with my time, and I'd love you to join me.
Yeah, look, Maureen. Yes, look, this is okay. So, why not? Why not? Look, if I'm going to reach out to a friend, I'm going to say, hey, look, we've been meaning to spend more time together. You got kids, everything's so busy. I'm working a ton, but how about this idea? Right? Let's do this thing together. It'll be fun. Okay.
I think I have to make it finite that from now until 2024, most of my social activities will be around this, just because I'm obsessed with it. And so,
yes.
Well, right.
Okay. So, Maureen, you're fired up, and that's what we want, right? And I want to say something here, and I hope everyone hears it, and you keep it really close to you in your organizing what you're doing. Please remember that building power, bringing people in to do the thing, is as important as you doing the thing. All election cycle. So recruitment shares center stage with you yourself going to the phone bank. Right? So if there's a week where you can't make your phone bank, okay, that's 2 hours you're not going to volunteer. Well, take 30 of those minutes and try and get someone to that phone bank in your stead. Reach out to a friend and say, hey, I can't make it this week. Can you please go for me? That kind of thing. So anyway, Jeremy, go ahead. What do you want to add?
I was just thinking, gosh, I feel like it's sort of hard to sort of open the conversation and find a way into the conversation. And I was thinking about one specific friend, and every time I talk to her, she complains about politics. And I just realized, like, that is such a great entry point. Is I can have so many friends who I can get complaining so quickly. And then it's easy to make that pivot to, oh, well, you know what you can do? Why don't you do this and see if it makes you feel better? And I think that was, like everybody else said, but it was just sort of a way to how to get there naturally instead of coming in from out of the blue.
Bingo. Right. Great. Okay. Do we have time for a few more?
Yeah.
You give me.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Looks like Mary, what do you want to add? So you're getting, you're trying to get a friend to attend your phone bank in 2 weeks. How do you approach it?
Okay, I have a different point. I want to build on what you've been doing. This has been such good information that you've been giving today.
Thanks.
And we're all going to use this information ourselves. And I feel like this session, Neal, is the most succinct information and structured kind of information that I've heard in the 4 years that I've been working with Sister District.
Oh,
I'm
gosh, thanks,
wondering
Mary.
whether a strategy for getting it beyond us is to create some sample videos doing the ask for different things, for phone bank, for for doing a donation, for getting engaged in a fundraising event or some other activity, taking on a leadership role, so that we could use that, and we could even actually use that in a meeting with our volunteers, so that we're not recreating the wheel. I'm really about not recreating the wheel.
Yes, yes, I know that. Yes.
So
yes.
that's my thought.
Okay, great. Mary, I will make as many videos of me asking as many different people to phone bank as you possibly want. We could set up, 20 different cases, and I'll tackle them one by one. I'm very happy to do that. Heidi, go ahead.
Hi. You talked about relationships, and one of the things that I think is really key is in your scenario, we've just got a 2-week window. So I'm less likely to go recruit somebody who doesn't know that I'm involved in Sister District, because then it feels like I'm doing a sales pitch to a friend.
Right.
Whereas over time, I really just try to incorporate the work I'm doing with Sister District when I'm catching up with friends. So, whether it's fundraising or recruiting to an event or whatever, it's all about those relationships. So they already know what I'm doing, so that it kind of takes the pressure off of that, oh no, in 2 weeks, I need to get two new people. Have I been cultivating those relationships and sharing my story and my involvement with Sister District over time? So again, it doesn't feel like a sales pitch to a friend.
Yes. And look, in my own experience, I have friends who I know I can go to, and if I ask them to do a thing, just because of the strength of our relationship, they're going to do that thing. And so I could go to my buddy Dan, like I did in 2020, and I said, hey, Dan, remember when you knocked doors for me for Obama in 2008? And it was way out of your comfort zone, but you came to Reno and you did it. Thank you so much. I need you to come to this weekend's phone bank. I can tell you why, but maybe we don't need to go through all that, right? And he would just say, okay, all right, I'll be there, right? Okay.
And just as an example, it's not specific to phone banking, but I got together recently with a friend of mine from my freshman dorm, and we haven't really caught up in decades. And just in the course of talking about things, I mentioned Sister District, and I wasn't planning to recruit her or anything. And she said how frustrated she had been, and like that whole decision paralysis. She said, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And when I explained Sister District, she said, oh my gosh, that's exactly the kind of thing, because then it's specific, you're making a difference. So I invited her to our next monthly meeting.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Barbara, what do you want to add? You got to get someone to a phone bank in 2 weeks. What's your approach?
Well, this is just a slightly different pitch, but this kind of goes to what is it that makes phone banking difficult? Because I've done an incredible amount of phone banking. It is still actually difficult. And the reason I think it's difficult is because, you're dialing, and then all of a sudden here's this person on the phone, and you actually have to get presence of mind to talk. And that is actually does not get that much easier. So this was just a slightly different pitch. If I have people who just say they don't like to do phone banking, and I think that means that they find that experience kind of scary or they're unsure of themselves and so forth. And so how about saying, yeah, it's really helped me in my ability to present to audiences. I used to be really nervous, but I've gotten, much more skilled. So it's kind of actually a really good way to learn how to be more comfortable in a wide variety of situations. So it's kind of like a self-help thing, just an idea.
I like it. I like it. And look, let me add to this. The virtual phone bank has many advantages. So some people might be zoomed out and they're like, oh, I can't get on a Zoom call, but you can spin that and talk about the advantages, particularly for introverts, any introverts out there. It could be kind of intimidating, could kind of feel like too much sensory overload to be in a room talking with all these people who are talking to voters, and then you're hearing everyone's conversations, right? On a Zoom call, what you hit mute, you just hear your own conversation. It's so nice. So you can take that approach if you know that you're speaking with an introvert. You can talk about how the features of what we're doing actually match up to that person, and that is the whole point. That's what I mean by it's a dance. This is a dance. You're fine. Those things about this person, or you learn them in the conversation, and then Chris.
I would say that our friends are interested in things as well. So what I would do is I would say, you attend my thing and I'll attend your thing. And and because they're probably similar related things. I mean, I'm not going to be, calling for some, I wouldn't offer that to one of my Republican friends, but yeah.
I like it. Look, I'm remembering when I was a consultant, it was Mother's Day. Mother's Day was coming up, and there were some mothers who were, and I was like, hey, Mom, that husband of yours hasn't taken out the trash in a few weeks. He's really not pulling his weight, watching the kids. He owes you. Our phone bank is on Mother's Day. He owes you. Get him there, right? Did it work? I don't know, but it's an approach. All right. Here's any other thoughts about this? We all have the instincts. We know how to do this. You want to connect. You want to find out what someone's constraints and resources are, what their interests are, where they're at. Do they need to remove decision paralysis? Is that most important to them? Do they need to feel like they're making a maximum impact with their volunteer time? Is that most important? Do they need the immediacy of speaking with a voter? This is part of the beauty of direct voter contact. You write it, you donate and you trust the campaign's going to use the money well, and they tend to do that. You write a postcard and it goes out into the postal service, and then something happens. Well, when you're on a phone call with an actual voter, that's immediacy. There's no intermediary there. It's you and that person in real time. And if you want to know if you're actually making an impact, well, that's the immediacy you want. That's your moment. Maybe that's what that person most needs. Maybe what they most need is community. They just need to be around other people. And again, so that's the point of making these asks that are contextual, customized, clear, compelling. I had all these C's. All right. I want to share my screen and show you now this doc that I've thrown together. And here we go. It's in our agenda, and we're going to throw the link in the chat. The purpose of this doc is to frame up the orientation around recruiting that we've just talked about. You got it. Not much more there you need to dig into. You got it. You can, please spread that orientation throughout your leadership. But then there's also information here. So why focus on state legislative candidates? I don't like the arrows in the quiver analogy, but I don't know what else to use. But so, you know, well, there's an ROI argument for focusing on states that Gabby has talked about, right? Voting rights, that's where all the action is happening. The nested races that we've heard about. You know, let's say you approach your friend, hey friend, do this thing with me, feel a little bit better, I think. Well, no, I just want to focus on the United States Senate. Well, in Arizona, we can flip both chambers and we're going to help reelect Mark Kelly. Let's do this, right? So this is how this doc works out. So it's, you know, why focus on state legislatures, and there's information on, you know, return on investment, you know, some info on voting rights, nested races, and then why focus on these particular states. And it goes into, and you know, so Arizona, here's our state legislature opportunity. We think both chambers can flip. It's going to help us reelect Mark Kelly, help us in the gubernatorial race. And previously, this builds on what we did in 2020, right? And then there's a message around voting rights for all of these things, which is, you know, drawn on a Notch Osorio, and which is basically this very positive, strong, assertive message. Republicans think they can choose who votes, or they can overturn the will of the voters in the state. Not on my watch. They got another thing coming.
10-minute warning, Neal.
I'm calling voters this weekend. Join me. Join me. This is how we fight back. We speak with voters. We make sure they have a plan to vote. Then this doc moves through all of our states. There's information for you here. And then, you know, again, other arrows in the quiver, pardon the metaphor, but why do this with sister district? So let's say the person you're making this invitation to, they're really focused on, well, I want to make sure that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. You can say, well, I do this with sister district because I trust the endorsements. All we as volunteers and organizers want is point us in the right direction, please. We can take care of the rest. We do the grunt work. We're the muscle. Great. Just please point us in the right direction. And that's part of why I work at this organization. I believe in our targeting. And so there's some messaging here around our targeting. Also, sister district, we have all of these various ways we're trying to help advance progressive power and policy in states. And so someone, you know, who's going to be a part of a phone bank in this system, it's important to open the hood, not just on how that helps campaigns and how it feels to have the success of phone banking. Hey, I recruited a local volunteer, right? All these great feelings we have when we actually move the ball forward with voters. But it's a part of a larger structure. So state bridges, helping candidates who lost last time, helping make sure they don't leave the talent pool and they run again. All that kind of stuff is what we're doing, right? And then it moves on to why volunteer with me, with just an example of that multidimensionality that I talk about. Look, why do I love canvassing? All these reasons. I like walking. I like looking at neighborhoods, right? And then down at the bottom, there's some guidance, these things that we've talked about around recruiting first-time phone bankers. There's some links. And why did I focus on phone banking? Well, because it tends to be one of the more difficult things for us to get people to do, because unfortunately, they've probably been trained very poorly in the past. And they're kind of traumatized by having a bad phone bank experience. And also they don't really understand what it is. So our job is to open the hood and make it very clear. So all of that is in that doc, and Leif has shared that in the chat. We're going to share it in the HQL update email. I would recommend, bookmarking it if you think it's helpful. Final thought I want to leave everyone with. Look, here's the deal. As organizers, we want all the people we work with to feel responsible for growth, to see themselves as co-creators of building power. So on the Obama campaign, I remember as staffer, I didn't want our volunteers to hear my fellow staffers and I talking about what was in the news or something like that. I wanted all of our volunteers to hear us congratulating each other on the volunteers we recruited yesterday, to see us giving each other a high five because we scheduled 5 new shifts. It's about the culture that we create. So the reason why the case I gave you at the top starts with, hey, you and your fellow leaders have committed to one another. You're each going to get 2 people to the phone bank in 2 weeks. Loser buys the beer kind of thing. Is because that is a strategy that's always in reach. It's always in reach for all of us to put something together, to put power building and put recruiting front and center in the work we do. So that's my final thought. I want to encourage you, leaving this session, leaving the summit, moving into the organizing we're doing. Remember that recruiting and building that power should be front and center for everybody. You're doing the thing, but equally as important to you doing the thing is you getting the other person to do the thing. Any final thoughts or questions on this? Leif, we probably have a couple minutes. Rochelle, go ahead. Oh, unmute yourself, my friend. That's okay.
Okay, now it is.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Actually, in the chat, Chris Warlock from San Francisco had like a terrifically intriguing suggestion. So I just hope that she would talk a little bit about it or share that thought. I thought it could be great.
Yes, about getting candidates to join phone banks.
Yeah.
Yes. So this happens when candidates are available, when the campaigns think that it's in their strategic best interest. And we have a process. You would fill out a form to request your candidate. It's a good idea 4 weeks in advance, and then the campaigns will get the candidate there, and the candidate's there for 5 minutes or so to say hi, to say thank you, fire everybody up. Look, there's a lot that we can do around building energy for our phone banks. Look, we're doing weeks of action this week. The first week, Prince Week. All around Prince's birthday, June 7th. So, everyone needs to have a Prince phone bank. The next week of action, Plant Week. You love plants? Make your phone bank about, making calls, but then on your breaks, someone's going to, share your plant. I just made this stuff up. And you all can do that too.
So just to clarify, I'm sorry, the candidate, if he or she has the time,
yep,
is actually talking to the phone bankers before the phone bank actually proceeds.
Rochelle, you got it.
Okay.
You got it, and we can make that happen. Where are we on time, Leif? I don't want to go over. 3 minutes, perfect. Other questions about this stuff? I'm so glad that we walked through that case. I think that we brought up a number of really good ideas and approaches. Is there anything else about recruiting? Throw a tough one at me, maybe. Okay, we're experts. There are no tough ones. Okay.
Rural recruiting. Let's focus on how to connect with rural voters.
With rural voters?
Rural, yeah.
Oh, geez. That's a topic for another session.
You asked for a tough one.
But I could, we could recruit a rural volunteer, certainly. All right, so one final thing I want to leave everyone with. So we started with an audible around everything that we heard from the last panel, right? Sobering, tough. Remember, organizers, we focus on what we can control. What can we control? Well, where we focus our time and energy, right? And we help those in our lives, our loved ones and friends, people who work with us, by helping them jump in and fight the good fight in a way that's going to improve their lives a little bit, in a way that's going to decrease their anxiety, decrease the feeling of loneliness or depression they might be feeling, right? And we want to jujitsu the tough stuff that's coming our way out into, no, I'm going to show up at my phone bank this week. I'm going to do my part. It's going to feel good. I know I'm fighting the good fight. And beyond that, I'm going to spend my time with my friends and family. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm not going to